Ricky Gall, Ben Black. Ricky Gall, Ben Black, table 6. Next match on table 16, Sam Story, Luke Gilbert. Sam Story, Luke Gilbert, table 16.
Good evening and welcome back to Daventry for continued live coverage of the World Rules Pool Tour. Next up, some bonus coverage of the Jason Owen Open, the match between Kristi Caulfield and Greg Batten. The last 64 match. There'll be a best of 7 frames. First man to 4 goes through to the last 32. For those tuning in expecting to catch the main event action, we will be resuming with that straight after this match. That's also playing through to a close tonight. We just saw the last 16 match. Carl Sutton prevailing over Eddie Barker by 7 frames to 6 in what turned out to be a gripping encounter. Was 6-2 up, then Eddie pulled it back to take it to that deciding frame. Hopefully we'll be treated to a similar quality of play from these two. Kristi breaking off in the first frame but not finding a ball, so it's going to be first look at Greg Batten. I have to say, in the last couple of matches we've seen on this table, the players struggling a bit with the break. There hasn't been quite the consistency we would have expected. We've seen some players who normally have a very good break. Thinking particularly of the match with Tom Cousins earlier, where Tom kept coming up dry, which proved pretty costly in that match. Oh, that's a lovely first shot from Greg. That red flying around and looked like it could go safe for a moment, but it's nicely in a possible position, so got a pocket for all of the reds. Commentary from Mark Shepherd, and just stepping back into the commentary box, Nick Finn.
Hi Mark, that was a good game.
It was a very entertaining game, yeah. I don't know how Eddie got back into that. That never looked on the cards at 6-2 down.
And I've just seen Eddie across the other side of the room, and honestly, he looked absolutely gutted. And then I reminded him about the season he's having and the fact he's already cemented his place as an ultimate pool professional next year, which I think is pretty huge for any player next year. There's going to be some real prize money on offer for him next year, and if he keeps playing like he is, then he'll be stiff competition in that event. And I think, yeah, Eddie, when he reflects on this season, that you can look at that one game and think that was one chance it got away, but actually, on reflection, what a season he's having, playing brilliantly.
I think what was annoying for him there was just that he'd done so much work coming back. I think he would have lost 7-2, which it looked like he was going to for a moment. He'd have just gone back to his hotel room and thought, oh, well, it wasn't meant to be. But having got it back to 6-all, and then he played a phenomenal shot out of a snooker to pot his last ball and missed the black.
Tough one for me, though, because, I'm a fan of Carl, and Carl's obviously been struggling for form this year, and it's you could see how much it means to him during the interview. He really is, just working hard to try and turn things around, and it will turn around for him. But conversely, Eddie's had a great season, and one bad shot has obviously cost him that game. But on reflection, as I say, a great season for Eddie, and very, very different career paths at the moment. Carl really struggling to find any kind of form. But good to see him in the last 8, and he's actually, if there is a right side to the draw, then he is in the right side of the draw, because the bottom half of the draw is pretty stacked. I think if you look at the top half of the draw, Dylan Leary against Sean Chipperfield, Callum Singleton against Carl Sutton. The bottom half of the draw still to be decided, but Phil Harrison 5-3 up against Jake McCartney. Clint Ianson's beaten Rob Warren, Jack Whelan, Lee Kendall, Declan Brennan. I think when you look at that, Arguably, Carl's probably in the right half. But when you look at the players already through at the start of the competition, you look through that field, and Dylan Leary's someone who has just been getting better and better right the way throughout this year. Sean Chipperfield has been on form all the way through the season. Callum Singleton, another young man who's got a great future, has beaten Aaron Davis, Carl Sutton, Phil Harrison, his favourite against Jake McCartney, Clint Ianson, seeing Jack Whelan in there, Declan Brennan in there. There's not too many surprises.
Meanwhile, back at this table, the dry break from Kristi has invited Greg to the table, taking out a good clearance. Greg's been in great form. I watched him a few weeks ago beat Mick Hill. It was a long way down and came back to win 7-6. That must have been one of his best results so far of the season.
I think it was 6-2 down in that game, was he?
Yeah, he just played sort of totally normally. Although it wasn't 6-2, and although he wasn't playing the 6 times world champion, just played well, won the frames one after another, ultimately won the match. It was a great comeback.
And no respite for Carl Sutton off the back of that win. He's straight back in on table 12 against John Morm.
Yeah, I think it's much easier when you just won, isn't it? If he'd have lost that match from 6-2 down, I think he'd have been wanting to throw his cue out the window, never mind play another match.
Interestingly, the scoreline right at the top of the screen there is Scott Pope. Is currently 3-2 up against Neil Rayburn. Scott Pope has already beaten Neil this season. He beat him down in, up in Blackpool in the first event of the season. Scott Pope, we saw him fall to pieces a little bit against Sean Chipperfield yesterday. Could have easily won that game 7-2, but ended up losing 7-5 against Sean, which on paper is a kind of expected result, but goodness me, it was that was a real chance for Scott. I saw him at breakfast this morning, actually. He said, I have no idea what I was doing. It was my arms just turned to jelly, and some of the shots shot selection was off the charts.
A decent break this from Greg, and the yellow balls spread pretty nicely around the table. Pretty short format this, first to 4, so important to get off to a good start. Pretty one-sided, you'd have to say, with the way these balls are positioned. The yellow's near both of the bottom corner pockets. I'm sure Greg doesn't want to be allowing his opponent back to the table, but even if he did, the reds are hardly in a prime position at the moment. Hard to tell if that ball to the left of the black goes. It looks from the way he played that like he might have been trying to play a cannon on it. Find out in a moment whether he is able to pot it. Seem probably not from the way he's looking at the moment. I think he may have to reroute and go after the one over the bottom left-hand corner pocket next. Saw him before that shot, just coming around to look at where he needs to leave the cue ball. He's going to have to leave it kind of under the black to play a choice of these yellows. So he'll be taking the one to the right of the black up into the far corner pocket. Cued that well, but just pushed it onto the near jaw. So he was trying to play it a fairly delicate weight, so he held position for the other yellow that's near the black. He wanted to play that to the left corner next. So an unexpected opportunity for Kristi, and even though he's missed that first pot, he's missed it in a pretty good way because he's got it right hanging over the corner pocket. So a return to Greg. He was at the table in a very similar position in terms of where the cue ball was a couple of shots ago, but everything else has gone an awful lot worse since then. This is how quickly a frame can turn. Moments ago I was saying you'd much rather be the yellow balls, but after Kristi's last shot, that isn't quite the case anymore. So the pretty measured style around the table doesn't give too much away. Greg just goes about his business.
See Neil Toms in the background on table 13. He's in action again. I think he's playing Scott Yardley, if I'm not mistaken. Looks like it's Scott watching over anyway.
Yeah, it's quite a tough job, that, organising a tournament and playing in the same tournament. I can see why you would be wanting to play in it, having put all the work into organising it, but it does mean you're stretched quite thin over the course of the weekend.
No idea how he does it.
Very much a deserved reward for all the work setting the thing up to go and have a game. He was practicing on Thursday night when I got here and looked like he was enjoying himself, looking forward to the weekend.
As much as he puts himself down, he's actually a decent stick.
Yeah, former England player, of course.
So the Jason Owen Open is now hotting up. It's just drawing to the conclusion of round 3. In fact, going back to that game that I mentioned earlier, Scott Pope has beaten Neil Rayburn 4 frames to 2. That's another sculp in favour of Scott Pope. He finds himself in round 4. He really is having a good year. He's in the last 32.
Next match on table 10, the Jason Owen, Josh Corkett, Eddie
Playing
Barker.
Brett Wild in the next round, and then if he wins that one, he's got the winner of Jake McCartney and Neil Davey.
Meanwhile, back on this table, that error from Greg Batten invited Kristi to the table for what turned out to be a very swift clearance. Wasted no time levelling the scores up at 1 apiece. Kristi
was a fun player to watch. He's the stereotypical Irishman with his blaze of red hair. And whenever you see him walking around, he's always wearing a green t-shirt, green socks, green flip-flops, green shorts.
Well, he's been forced into the tour shirt is red and black, so he's been forced into that option today. Having won that last frame, it's Kristi that breaks off in frame 3.
Breaks dry.
Yeah, neither player's having too much luck with the break right now.
Despite the fact there's 2 reds up in bulk, I actually think I quite like reds here. I think you can land on the 2 reds in bulk to the right corner, and an easier opener as well. I think Greg's going to be going for these.
Mike, table 14, table 14.
And obviously, me saying that I prefer reds, he's obviously going to go yellows.
So listen to your land, clear that.
Yeah. I mean, yellows are probably the obvious choice, just given those 2 in bulk, but I don't know why I just fancied the pattern more for reds as the personal choice, using one of the balls in the middle of the table to go up table on the left-hand side to put the 2 reds into the right-hand pocket. But as I say, yeah, could probably make a case for either. Yellow's probably more the sensible choice.
As always, it will depend how it turns out. If he clears up the yellows, it will definitely look like a sensible choice.
Yeah. If he doesn't, then I was right. Let's just remember that.
Either way, it's a decent opportunity for him. Neither of these players still in action in the main, so this is their remaining interest in the weekend's event, so they'll be keen to continue batting in this tournament. Both of the events this weekend, the main event and this Jason Owen Open, are to a completely open draw format, so no seeding. Next year the main event is going to be seeded based on this year's ranking list, so that will change the dynamic slightly.
Nice shot, well controlled, and one shot. It's probably one in this frame. I guess the only consideration here is just getting up table to the ball. It's just above the blue spot.
Yeah, he's happy to leave that for the last ball because it's up near the black, but as you say, he does need to get decent shape on it because the black is somewhat guarded. And these ones you can take in more than one order, but he's just giving a bit of thought to the right pattern.
Yeah, I think this is right. Take the one along the cushion now and then use the one on the right side cushion to go back up table. But the problem is here is the red plays pretty big. That's in the natural path of where he'd want to go to get on the ball at the side. So he's going to go about it a slightly different way, and he's going to take. Yeah, this is a good choice too. It was the transition from one on the cushion to the one on the right hand side around. Normally you'd have wanted to take that first and then go up table, but that red was just causing a problem. So just kept it really simple, played into space, left this yellow to top right. He's going to just have to cue one more good ball. The good thing about this shot, he's got an absolute acre of space to land into. He just needs to get probably anywhere from about a quarter of the way up the table. It really depends on where he is. If he's near the right-hand side cushion, it keeps things a lot simpler. You can see there, he's only, wow. I think he's there, but he's only just there.
Yeah, I mean, you'd say the conservative shot was not to risk overscrewing it, but you definitely didn't want to underdo it and leave yourself snookered behind the first row.
I think just for a split second, he looked at that table with a bit of concern and thought, have I got there? And he had just.
Nice clearance in the end, even though there was that nervous moment to finish it up with. Big thank you as always to our sponsors, a number of well-known clubs just scrolling across your screen. On Board Sportswear, responsible for the tour shirt that everyone is sporting, the black and red. Well, I say everyone, it looks like Greg's charting his own path. He's brought his own shirt.
Yeah, Greg does his own thing. I think given the choice it would be reds, but when I say given the choice, I'm not sure if he's got an opener. I don't know, even from looking at that, where the red goes into the left centre, I'm presuming it doesn't pass that yellow. It's difficult to see on the camera, so he may not have that luxury of choice. He's got a plant down the left side cushion, but again, that's not simple by any stretch of the imagination. Pretty sure he's going to want to go reds. I think he's going to have to take that plant on. So a big shot could be the key to the frame. Right. Clipped the yellow in.
I think you're going to have to have a word with him afterwards. He's not taking the advice on this choice of colour.
Yeah, I just think the risk wasn't worth it for reds. You'd ideally like to be reds because you've got the two, where the two yellows are that he's just about to play now. The one above is the problem ball. Now he has an angle that he can screw up into it now. If he hits it full ball, he only needs to push it probably 9 inches up the table. Or alternatively he could play the yellow off the red and move the red out of the way. It's a matter of choice. Well, that's the shot he's looking at. It's okay.
Yeah, nice controlled shot. Sometimes people tend to overhit those shots, but deliberately didn't put too much pace into it. Looking pretty good so far. He's looked probably the steadier of the two players, although Kristi had that one quick fire clearance when invited to the table. Very often not much to choose between players in a best of 7. It can all happen pretty quickly. It's just who gets the chances. So she wants to drop the yellow into the left-hand centre. The pocket now open for the remaining ball, thanks to that shot he played a little earlier. This has been a nicely controlled clearance. It was a decent opportunity, but still had to do a little bit of hustling, nudge a couple of balls out the way to open things up, which he's made look pretty straightforward.
One of the quarterfinals of the main event's already started. Sean Chipperfield is 4-1 up against Dylan Leary. We will bring you action from one of those quarterfinals. I don't know which one yet. I'm going to take a guess at Phil Harrison against Clint Jansen. But equally, I think they'll probably wait on the winner of Jack Whelan, Lee Kendall, and Declan Brennan, Pat Ward, and maybe it might be from that side of the draw. We shall wait and see. The game's decided so far, as I say, Dylan Leary against Sean Chipperfield. Sean is 4-1 up. Carl Sutton will play Callum Singleton. Phil Harrison will play Clint Jansen. And the winner of Jack Whelan and Lee Kendall, incidentally Lee Kendall currently 4-3 up against Jack Whelan, will play the winner of Declan Brennan and Pat Ward. Declan Brennan 6-4 up.
Yeah, some big names in those quarterfinals. When you look down the last 16 draw, you could pick probably 16 winners out of that one. It's still the same. 8 very good players. Well, six confirmed and 2 to be confirmed.
We watched Phil Harrison play yesterday, and we said after the first round, wouldn't it be just like Phil Harrison been struggling for 4 more seasons? He'll just pop up now and win an event. And you really can see that happening, but Declan Brennan is looking on mercurial form at the moment.
Meanwhile, great relief for Greg as that ball drops into the corner pocket. So this is the frame he needs to win the match. 3-1 up already in this race to 4. Kristi Caulfield, we frankly haven't seen a lot of. He's had the one opportunity which he cleared up from, and other than that he's been sat in his chair for most of this match.
We have been treated to some really good pool over this weekend, and lots more to come. We're going to play down to a final of the main event today, and then we will have the final of the Jason Owen Open and the ladies event tomorrow. And we're going to follow the action all the way through both of those events. You can trouble the scorer to mark this one in the card. I don't think I'll be giving him the commentator's curse by saying such things, because this is very simple for Greg Batten. Race to 4, and he wins 4 frames to 1 against Kristi Caulfield. He takes his place in the last 32. I think I'm right in saying we're at the last 32 now. Yes, indeed we are.
Yeah, and he played well there. I mean, you can't say Kristi did a whole lot wrong, but Greg turned up, did what he needed to do, and that's kind of his style. As he celebrates with Jez Graham and Jamie Graham, some local support in the background.
Greg marches on. Next action on this table, where are we going from here? I think probably, I'm not sure if they're going to try and find a little gem in the rough for us for, pretty sure it's going to be, yeah, so quarter-final action coming up next, and that's going to be Phil Harrison against Clint Jansen. That will be with you in probably just 5 or 10 minutes. We're going to reset things here, have a very short break. So go make yourself a cup of tea, and we'll be back with Phil Harrison against Clint Jansen very shortly.